Imagine a February night in Martinique, a night so suffocatingly still that even the wind refuses to move. Inside a vast colonial mansion, silence presses against the walls like a living thing. And in the center of that silence sits a woman making the most dangerous decision of her life, a decision that breaks every rule of her society, spits in the face of religion, and condemns innocent lives to carry a secret that will destroy them from the inside. Asterisk. Her name is Madame Elizabeth de Beaumont-le-Croix, a widow, mother of 5 daughters. 6 months earlier, her husband Henry was taken by yellow fever, and since then, she has been alone. Alone in a world where a woman without a husband is nothing but prey. 5 daughters, 5 futures hanging by a thread. Asterisk 5. Women with no dowry strong enough to protect them in a colonial world where marriage is not romance. It's a transaction. Asterisk Elizabeth has seen what happens to girls without a powerful protector. Asterisk. She has seen ruined men marry wealthy daughters only to strip them of their inheritance. Asterisk. She has seen husbands beat their wives, humiliate them, steal everything, destroy their reputations, destroy their children. Asterisk. She has seen marriages that are nothing more than slow, public executions. Asterisk. And she refuses, absolutely refuses, to let her daughters fall into that abyss. Asterisk. So on this February night, in her dimly lit study, with the flame of a single candle throwing monstrous shadows on the walls, she pulls out her pen and begins writing. Asterisk. Not a letter, not a prayer, a plan. Asterisk. A plan no woman of her rank would ever dare conceive. Asterisk. A plan that could get her hanged or burned alive, if discovered. Asterisk. A plan so twisted, so cold, so calculated that even she hesitates for a moment before finishing the first sentence. Asterisk. But hesitation is a luxury she can no longer afford. Asterisk. Martinique, in 1879, lives in a strange lie. Asterisk. Slavery was abolished in 1848, officially. In reality, little has changed. Former enslaved people are now contract laborers. The old system still breathes under a new vocabulary. Forced work, dependence, exploitation, everything continues, just hidden behind paperwork. Asterisk. And on isolated plantations, far from the eyes of the authorities, the old practices never truly died. Asterisk. The Beaumont-le-Croix plantation is one of those places. Asterisk. Among the laborers, there is a man named Kofi. Asterisk. 35 years old, originally from Guinea, exceptionally tall, nearly 1.90 meters strong, silent, dangerously intelligent. Henry de Beaumont had purchased him 15 years earlier during a trip to Guinea. What he didn't expect was that Kofi could read and write in French, English, Portuguese, and several African languages. Fascinated, Henry educated him further and made him the secret manager of the plantation accounts. Asterisk. Kofi became the man who knew everything, saw everything, understood everything. Asterisk. And on this February night, he becomes the man Elizabeth chooses. Asterisk. Why him? Because she has spent years observing him, his endurance, his intelligence, his health, unshaken by yellow fever, malaria, dysentery, his memory, his strength. Asterisk. She has made a biological calculation long before the word eugenics even existed. Asterisk. If her daughters cannot marry decent men, then their children, her grandchildren, must at least inherit the qualities needed to survive. And Kofi, in her cold logic, is the perfect candidate. Not as a man, not as a human being, asterisk, but as a body with traits she finds useful. It is monstrous, but in her eyes, it is salvation. Asterisk. She writes the names of her 4 eldest daughters on the paper. Marguerite, 27, Celeste, 25, Adelaide, 23, Hortense, -21. Asterisk. Then, beneath them, she writes a single name, Kofi. She stares at the page for a long time. Nothing moves. Not her hands, not her breath. This choice will scar 8 lives forever. Asterisk. But she has already crossed the line. Asterisk. She rises from her desk knowing exactly what she must do next. Asterisk. Tomorrow, she will tell her daughters. Later, she will confront Kofi. Tonight, she births a plan made of fear, cruelty, and desperation. A plan that will plunge an entire family into darkness for generations. When the candle finally extinguishes, the room falls into darkness. Asterisk. But the decision she made glows like a brand iron, already burning through the fate of everyone involved. Asterisk. The next morning, the plantation looks exactly the same. The trees, the veranda, the fields, everything is calm. But the calm is a lie. Something has shifted inside the Beaumont-le-Croix mansion, something invisible but heavy enough to bend the air itself. Asterisk. Madame Elizabeth moves through the house with a quiet determination, carrying the weight of a secret powerful enough to destroy her entire lineage if spoken aloud. Her daughters feel it. They don't know what she's planning, but they can sense it the way animals sense an approaching storm. Asterisk. To understand what she is about to do, you need to understand the world she inhabits. The false freedom of 1879 Martinique. Asterisk. On paper, slavery ended in 1848. Asterisk. In reality, it never died. It simply changed costume. Asterisk. Contract laborers. Asterisk. Workers. The words are new, The chains are not. The old system of control is still in place. The fear, the hierarchy, the violence, the dependence. Most of the formerly enslaved are trapped in debt they can never repay, tied to the land, tied to the plantation, tied to people who see them as less than human. The Beaumont-LaCroix plantation is not an exception, it's the rule. And at the center of that rule lives an anomaly, a man who should have been erased by this world long ago but somehow survived it. Kofi *, who Kofi really is. Kofi is not ordinary, not by any measure. He stands at nearly 1 meter, 90, a towering presence, broad shoulders. Hands, shaped by hard labor. But it's not his size that makes him dangerous. It's his mind. 15 years earlier, when Henry de Beaumont traveled to Guinea, he intended to make a purchase like so many other men of his class, a pair of hands to work the fields. But what he bought instead was a man with a rare intellect. Kofi could read. Kofi could write multiple languages, multiple scripts. Curious. Henry tested him, educated him, trained him. It wasn't kindness, it was investment. And soon, Kofi became indispensable. He handled the plantation's accounts. He tracked the debts of neighboring estates. He read the letters Henry couldn't understand. He wrote the letters Henry didn't know how to write. He managed numbers, schedules, harvests silently, invisibly. To everyone else, he was still just a laborer. To the plantation's survival, he was the spine. He saw everything, the cruelty, the hypocrisy, the corruption, the lies he learned to keep. Secrets. Because on a plantation, a man who knows too much can vanish overnight. Elizabeth's calculation. After Henry's death, Elizabeth observed Kofi more closely. Not as a human being with a past, but as a sum of traits: strength, health, intelligence, resilience. Her mind twists these qualities into something cold and functional. A resource, a solution, a piece of biological strategy. She looks at the white men around her, the drunken soldiers, the ruined planters, the sickly administrators, the opportunists circling like vultures, and she sees no future for her daughters among them. So she looks at Kofi, not with desire, not with affection, with calculation. If her daughters must bring children into this world, then she demands children who can survive. Children who inherit strength, children who inherit intelligence, children who inherit resistance to disease. Children born from the man who has survived everything this island has thrown at him. This is not love, this is not romance, this is not freedom. This is a woman trying to build a legacy out of human lives, the way a general arranges soldiers on a battlefield, sacrificing whatever she must to win a war only she understands. The decision becomes an order. That night, as the candle burns low, Elizabeth writes the names of her daughters: Marguerite to 7, Celeste Vinci 5, Adelaide 23, Hortense to 1. She leaves the youngest, Genevieve 19, off the list. For now, she tells herself she will spare at least one child. Then she writes one more name: Kofi. The ink dries on the page like a stain she can never erase. The next day, she will summon her daughters. Soon after, she will summon Kofi. She already knows what she will say, what she will demand, what she will force into existence. The candle finally dies, leaving the room in darkness. But the decision does not die. It grows, it spreads. It begins to poison the roots of the family tree. And nothing, not God, not morality, not the future can stop what she has set in motion. The next afternoon, the sky over the plantation turns a heavy gray, as if the island itself knows what is about to happen. Inside the mansion, Madame Elizabeth prepares the room where she will shatter for lives with a single conversation. She sends word for her 4 eldest daughters. Not Genevieve, she is deliberately kept out. She is too young, too untouched by the brutality of the world. For now, Marguerite, Celeste, Adela, Dick, and Hortense gather in the grand salon. A room usually reserved for guests, for celebrations, for music. But today, its atmosphere feels like a courtroom. The moment Elizabeth locks the door behind them, all 4 daughters know something is very, very wrong. The mother who has become stone. Elizabeth stands in front of them, rigid, emotionless, almost unrecognizable. No softness, no warmth, only calculation. Marguerite, the responsible eldest, sits quietly, her eyes searching her mother's face. Celeste, the sharp and skeptical one, stays alert, analyzing every movement, every breath. Adelaide trembles already. She has always been the sensitive one, the romantic, the dreamer. She feels danger before the others even process it. Hortense, the youngest of the 4, tries to smile weakly, hoping this is all a misunderstanding. It isn't. The brutal explanation. Elizabeth speaks without preamble. Her voice is steady, cold, merciless. You have no dowries, no husbands, no protection. In this society, you are prey. The men who will come for you will be ruined, violent, desperate. Asterisk, if you marry them, they will destroy you. Asterisk, her daughters stare at her, stunned. This isn't a mother speaking, this is a strategist calculating losses. Asterisk, Elizabeth continues. Each word a blade. Asterisk, your future children will be taken from you. Asterisk, your fortunes will be stolen. Asterisk, your reputations will vanish. Asterisk, your lives will be misery. A silence suffocates the room. Marguerite swallows hard. She has seen these fates in other women. Asterisk, Celeste's lips tighten. She realizes her mother is not exaggerating. Adelaide begins to cry. Hortense whispers. Asterisk, then, what do we do? Asterisk, Elizabeth closes her eyes for a brief second, then delivers the verdict. Asterisk, you will have children with Kofi. The world freezes. The explosion. Celeste is the first to react. She leaps to her feet, furious, horrified. Asterisk, mother, that is madness. This is a sin, a crime. We will be damned. Elizabeth does not blink. Marguerite covers her mouth. Unable to speak, Hortense stumbles backward against the wall. Adelaide is sobbing, shaking, her heart collapsing under the weight of the words. Asterisk, Elizabeth presses on, unfazed. I will invent marriages for you. Secret husbands who died at sea, or traveling, or from illness. No one can verify these stories. Asterisk, your children will be legitimate. Asterisk, they will inherit everything. Asterisk, you will keep your lives and your freedom. Asterisk, the daughters stare at her, as if she has become a stranger, and she has. She became one the moment she chose survival over morality. The ultimate threat, Marguerite asks, her voice broken. And Kofi, does he know? Elizabeth's answer is ice. He has no choice. Asterisk, just like you. Adelaide collapses into her chair, shaking violently. Celeste whispers, you would turn us into criminals. Asterisk, Elizabeth steps closer, her eyes sharp, her jaw clenched. I am saving you. If you refuse, any of you, I will marry you off to the first man who asks. Asterisk, and I promise you, he will break you. Your choice is simple, a controlled sacrifice. Asterisk, or a guaranteed nightmare. Asterisk, the room sinks into despair. They know she means it. They know she has the power. Asterisk, and they know the world will not protect them. Asterisk, they are trapped, not by fate, but by their own mother. The surrender. Asterisk, over the following days, the house becomes a grave. Asterisk, there is no laughter, no conversation, no prayer loud enough to drown the fear. Asterisk, one by one, the daughters break, not because they agree, not because they accept. Asterisk, but because they have no weapons, no rights, no way to fight the machine of society, or their mothers will. Asterisk, they surrender, not out of submission, out of survival. Asterisk, the decision has been stamped into their lives like a brand of iron. Nothing will be the same again. March 1879. Asterisk, night falls over the plantation like a shroud. The fields lie still, the air thick with humidity, and the darkness feels heavier than usual. Inside his small cabin, Kofi senses something coming. Men like him, men who have survived abduction chains, beatings, and the cruelty of plantations, develop a sixth sense for danger. It sharpens with every year of captivity. Asterisk, tonight, that instinct screams. Asterisk, when a servant knocks on his door, Kofi already knows whatever awaits him inside the main house will not be good. He follows the summons through the dim paths of the plantation, the soil still warm beneath his feet. He enters the mansion, and a servant leads him to Madame Elizabeth's study. He steps inside. The door closes behind him. Asterisk, Madame. Elizabeth stands there like a carved statue. No smile, no hesitation, no mercy. Her posture is rigid, her expression unreadable, her eyes fixed on him as if he were not a person but a tool she is about to use. Asterisk, Kofi does not sit. No chair is offered. This is not a conversation. This is a verdict. And then, without the slightest softness, she says the words, Asterisk, you will give children to my 4 eldest daughters. Asterisk, Kofi freezes. Asterisk, not from surprise. He has lived long enough to expect the worst from people, but because she says it with the same tone someone would use to discuss crop rotation. Asterisk, he closes his eyes for a moment. Asterisk, then he opens them, steady, silent, waiting for the rest. Asterisk, Elizabeth continues, her voice colder than the steel of a blade. Asterisk, if you refuse, you will be sold tomorrow to the gold mines in French Guiana. The mines. He knows those stories. Everyone does. A man might survive years of plantation labor. Asterisk, but the mines kill quickly. Asterisk, 3 years. At best, heat, disease, accident, starvation. Asterisk, men disappear there like smoke. Asterisk, it is a death sentence with paperwork. Asterisk, Kofi does not move, but something inside him cracks. Asterisk, she is not finished. She pulls out a second document, a letter, an official one, a manumission paper, his freedom. Asterisk, if you comply, and the plan succeeds, you will be liberated. Freedom. That word has haunted him for 15 years. Asterisk, he has dreamed of it, prayed for it, mourned it. Asterisk, but here it is, on a page he can touch, read, hold. Life or death, chains or release, a future or a grave. He finally speaks. Asterisk, what if I refuse? Elizabeth doesn't blink. Then you die. His throat tightens. He thinks of his homeland, his wife, his children stolen from him in Guinea. Asterisk, he thinks of the ocean he crossed in chains. Asterisk, he thinks of the 15 years he has survived on this island, 15 years of silence, humiliation, obedience. And now he is given a choice that is not a choice. He must sacrifice his soul to keep his body alive. Asterisk, slowly, painfully. He nods. I accept. Not because he wants to, not because he agrees, but because he wants to live. Yet he adds one condition, and his voice carries the weight of a dying man clinging to his last shred of dignity. Asterisk, swear to God you will honor your promise. Elizabeth hesitates only a second. Then she opens a drawer and pulls out the family Bible. She rests her hand upon it. I swear, it is done. The pact is sealed. Kofi leaves the study without another word. He does not look back. The night outside feels colder. He walks slowly toward his cabin, each step heavier than the last. Asterisk, tonight. A part of him has died, and another part must go on living because survival, for a man in his position, has always been the only currency he's allowed. April 1879. A sticky, breathless dusk settles over the plantation. The sun sinks behind the cane fields, turning the sky the color of dying embers. This is the hour when secrets move, when shadows stretch long, when the island holds its breath. Asterisk, this is also the hour when Madame Elizabeth's plan takes its first physical form. Asterisk, at the far edge of the estate stands a small abandoned house, old, forgotten, its walls cracked, its roof sagging. Asterisk, hidden behind tall sugarcane that swallows the structure from sight. Asterisk, no one visits it, no one even remembers it exists, which makes it perfect. Asterisk, this is where the daughters will be sent, one by one, alone. Asterisk, and where Kofi will be forced to meet them. Asterisk, not as a man, not as a partner, but as a prisoner performing a duty he never chose. Marguerite, the first sacrifice. Asterisk, Marguerite, the eldest, this chosen first because she is the strongest, because she is the most obedient. Asterisk, because her mother needs her to lead by example. Asterisk, Elizabeth walks her across the dark fields toward the hidden house. Asterisk, heart hammers inside her chest. Asterisk, her breath is shallow. Asterisk, her hands tremble so badly she hides them in her skirt. Asterisk, she wants to run. She wants to scream, but she knows neither option is safe. Asterisk, when they reach the house, Elizabeth gives her a look that is not maternal, not comforting, not human. Asterisk, do what must be done. Asterisk, then she turns and walks back toward the mansion, leaving her daughter alone with the shadows. Marguerite pushes the door open. Inside, the air is stale. A single oil lamp flickers weakly. A table, a chair, a narrow bed. Asterisk, and Kofi. Asterisk, he sits silently, shoulders heavy, eyes lowered. Asterisk, not out of shame. Asterisk, but out of the crushing recognition that he and Marguerite are both victims trapped inside the same cage. Asterisk, Marguerite expected a monster. Asterisk, what she sees instead is a man on the brink of breaking. Their eyes meet, and in an instant, the horror becomes real. Two people, two prisoners. Asterisk, two lives about to be twisted by a decision neither made. Asterisk, Marguerite whispers, her voice shaking. Asterisk, I'm sorry. Kofi closes his eyes. He answers. Asterisk, so am I. There is no seduction, no consent. Asterisk, no romance, only survival, only resignation. Asterisk, only the shared understanding that neither of them can escape what is about to happen. Asterisk, and in that terrible moment, something unexpected forms between them. Not affection, not desire, but a fragile thread of humanity. He speaks gently. She breathes through her terror. They try, in the smallest ways, to keep each other from falling apart. Asterisk, because in a situation this inhuman, being human is the only rebellion they have left. Celeste, the mind awakens. Asterisk, weeks later, Celeste arrives at the house. Asterisk, unlike Marguerite, she does not cry, she does not tremble. She tries to treat the encounter like a task, a calculation. But Kofi's intelligence disarms her. She brings books, he reads them. They talk about philosophy, politics, abolition. Asterisk, and for the first time in her life, Celeste questions everything she was taught about this world. She leaves the house shaken not by the act, asterisk, but by the realization that the man society calls inferior is wiser than almost every man she has ever known. Asterisk. Hortense, the child forced to become a woman. Asterisk. Hortense is the youngest of the four involved. Asterisk. She walks into the hidden house with the innocence of someone who still believes the world might be kind. Asterisk. By the time she leaves, that innocence is gone. She tries to forget, to erase. Asterisk. To bury everything inside her. Asterisk. Her method of survival becomes numbness. Adela, the forbidden heart. Asterisk. But the deepest tragedy unfolds with Adela Day, the dreamer, the romantic. Asterisk. The daughter cursed with a heart too soft for a world this cruel. Asterisk in the shadows of that hidden house, she falls in love. Asterisk not with the situation, not with the act, but with Kofi, his gentleness, his quiet strength, his pain. She sees the man beneath the chains. Asterisk he sees the woman, crushed under her mother's iron fista. Their connection is real, dangerous. Asterisk and doomed from the start. Asterisk Kofi feels something too, a tenderness he cannot express, a connection he cannot allow. He knows love is impossible here, punishable, deadly. One night, Adelida breaks down, sobbing into his chest. Asterisk and he whispers the only truth he has left. You are not free to love me, and I am not free to love you. Asterisk but what our hearts feel. Asterisk maybe that is the only freedom we will ever have. Those words never leave her, not for the rest of her life. The ritual continues. Asterisk month after month. Each sister visits the hidden house, each leaves changed, scarred, silent. And yet, despite the horror of the plan, the human moments that bloom in the darkness are the only things keeping the daughters from shattering completely. Asterisk but the consequences of these encounters are about to change everything. Asterisk for the sisters, for Kofi, and for the future generations who will carry this secret without ever knowing its origin. Asterisk. May arrives with heavy air and thick heat, and with it, the consequences Madame Elizabeth refused to fully confront. Asterisk the daughters try to act normal, but nature does not negotiate. What happened in the hidden house begins to show. One by one, the impossible becomes undeniable. Marguerite is the first to realize she is pregnant. She breaks down alone in her room, clutching the edge of her bed as if it could anchor her. Asterisk next comes Celeste, then Adelaide, then Hortense for sisters, for pregnancies, for ticking clocks. The secret Elizabeth thought she could contain suddenly becomes a wildfire waiting for one. Spark the great lockdown of the Beaumont-LaCroix mansion. Asterisk the house transforms overnight into a fortress of silence. Doors stay locked, windows stay shuttered. Asterisk servants are dismissed from entire wings of the mansion. The sisters no longer appear in public. No church, no village visits, no social gatherings. Asterisk to the community. They simply disappear. Elizabeth crafts her story. The girls have gone to care for a sick aunt in Fort-de-France. Asterisk a lie sharp enough to cut suspicion, yet vague enough to deter questions. After all, in polite colonial society, prying into another family's affairs is considered vulgar. Asterisk but lies have a short lifespan. Secrets rot, and someone always notices. Madame Rousseau, the woman who sees too much. Asterisk Madame Rousseau, the village seamstress, is called to sew winter dresses. Strange request for a tropical island. She arrives expecting simple work. Asterisk instead, she finds asterisk gowns deliberately oversized. Asterisk patterns designed to conceal swollen bellies for young women, avoiding her eyes. Trembling hands. Asterisk silent tears. She's not stupid. She has lived long enough to recognize a pregnancy. Asterisk and for at the same time, she sees the fear in the daughters. She smells a scandal. Asterisk and she understands instantly. This secret is worth money, a lot of money. Asterisk weeks later, she requests a private meeting with Madame Elizabeth. Her smile is vicious. I know what is happening here. Elizabeth freezes. A rare moment of fear crosses her face. Asterisk Madame Rousseau names her price, 800 francs, in gold, an enormous sum, a fortune for a seamstress. Elizabeth pays. She has no choice, but she adds a warning so sharp it could draw blood. If one word of this leaves your mouth, I will destroy you. Madame Rousseau leaves satisfied. Blackmail successful. Asterisk but now, Elizabeth knows the truth. Asterisk the secret bleeds money, and once blood spills, predators follow. Another threat emerges. Father Antoine. Asterisk the next danger comes from the church. Asterisk the parish priest. Father Antoine begins to notice something odd. Asterisk 4. Sisters absent for months, no letters, no visits, no explanations, no suitors, no announcements. He visits Elizabeth. She gives him another perfectly polished lie. They married quickly and for all four their husbands are sailors. They will return soon. Asterisk Father Antoine listens politely. Asterisk but he does not believe a word. Asterisk he leaves without accusation but with suspicion. He is patient, he waits, he watches, he knows the truth always cracks through. Somewhere, the births, temporary relief. Then disaster. By winter, the pregnancies reach their final stage. December 1879, Marguerite gives birth first. Asterisk boy Louis, his skin is light, his features ambiguous. The lie holds. Asterisk January 1880, Celeste gives birth, a girl, Marie. Asterisk she, too, can pass. Asterisk February 1880, Hortense gives birth, a girl, Isabel, still safe. Elizabeth begins to believe she has outrun fate. Asterisk that God, or chance or biology, has sided with her. But fate was simply waiting for its moment. March 1880, Adelida goes into labor. It is brutal to days of agony. A birth so violent it nearly kills her. Baby arrives, a boy, Gabriel. Asterisk the room falls silent. Asterisk Gabriel is undeniably of African ancestry. Asterisk darker skin, curlier hair, sharper features. Asterisk there is no lie strong enough to hide this. No invented sailor, no tragic marriage, no fake widower. This child is evidence, asterisk evidence that can destroy them all. Asterisk Elizabeth feels panic crack her composure for the first time in her life. Asterisk, but she is not the only one reacting. Asterisk Adelaide, sweaty, exhausted, holding her son with trembling arms, looks at her mother with a fire Elizabeth has never seen in her eyes. Her voice is raw. If you try to take my son away, asterisk, you will have to kill me first. Elizabeth steps back. For the first time, she sees that her daughter has limits she cannot cross, so she improvises a final lie. His father was Portuguese, from Madeira. They often have darker skin. A stretch, barely believable. Asterisk, but in this society, questioning a family's honor is considered rude. Asterisk, so the story passes. Barely Gabriel stays. The plan remains intact, fractured, but standing. The 4 children, Louis, Marie, Isabel, Gabriel. Asterisk 4 children born of silence, desperation, coercion, and survival. Each one carries a piece of the truth. Each one carries Kofi's blood. Each one carries a lie heavy enough to sink a lifetime. But the question now is asterisk what happens to Kofi? Because the plan is finished. The children are here. The daughters are bound to the secret, and Kofi, that is no longer useful. What Elizabeth decides next will change the fate of every person connected to this story. April 1880. The 4 children have been born. The lies are in place. The story has been woven tight enough to fool the island, at least for now. Asterisk there's only one loose thread left in Madame Elizabeth's tapestry. Kofi, the man whose body she used, whose dignity she crushed, whose future she bartered away, whose humanity she ignored. Now that she has what she wanted, she must decide what becomes of him, and she wastes no time. Asterisk the final summons. She calls Kofi to a study one last time. When he enters the room, she does not offer a seat. She does not thank him. She does not acknowledge his suffering. Asterisk instead, she reaches into a drawer and pulls out the one thing he has dreamed of for 15 years, a letter of manumission, his freedom. Asterisk. She sets it on the table as if she were presenting a bill. Asterisk here your liberty. As promised. Asterisk Kofi lifts the document with trembling hands. Not from joy, but from the crushing mix of hope and grief it awakens. Asterisk he stares at it. Asterisk a paper that cost him the core of who he was. Asterisk a paper that now feels heavier than a stone. He whispers, I am free, but my children are not. They will carry your name. Live in your house, grow under your rules. They will never know me. Asterisk you have given me freedom, but you have stolen my fatherhood. Elizabeth does not respond. Asterisk because she knows he's right. She cannot undo what she has done, and she does not intend to. Asterisk Kofi turns and walks out of the mansion for the last time. No one stops him. No one says farewell. Freedom begins quietly. Asterisk the life of a free man. Asterisk he gathers the few objects he owns: a threadbare shirt, a worn-by bowl, a small bar of soap, his precious notebook. Asterisk the letter that proves he is no longer property. Asterisk he leaves the plantation on foot, without looking back. Asterisk he walks for days, crossing fields, villages, hills, just a lone shadow carrying a freedom that came too late. He finds work as a docker on the port. Asterisk the job is brutal. Heavy crates fraying ropes, rusted pulleys exhausted, men unpaid overtime, dangerous loads, but it is work he chooses. And for him, that choice is everything. He rents a tiny room, barely a bed, barely a roof, but it is his. Asterisk he lives quietly, eating little, saving every coin, writing at night in his notebook. Asterisk and in its pages, one thing appears again and again. Asterisk the names of his 4 children, Louis, Marie, Isabel, Gabriel. Asterisk next to each name, he writes their birth dates. Asterisk he studies the words, the way a priest studies scripture. Asterisk he knows he will never see them again. Asterisk he knows they will never know him. Asterisk but writing their names is the only way he can keep them alive in his heart. Asterisk this is the closest he will ever come to being their father. February 1881 amp. Death without witnesses. A year and 10 months pass. That is all the freedom he gets. Asterisk one morning, Kofi is unloading a ship. Asterisk the sun beats down the ropes creak. The foreman shout orders. Asterisk a massive crate several times suspended from a crane. No one notices how frayed the rope is. One checks it, no one cares, until it snaps. The crack is loud, enough to be heard across the port. The crate drops. Kofi turns his head. Asterisk but he doesn't have time to move. Asterisk it crushes him instantly. There is no miracle, no last words. Asterisk no witness who understands who he was. Asterisk just the sound of wood and bone colliding in a single brutal second. Asterisk Kofi, who survived the Middle Passage, 20 years of bondage, and the twisted plan that destroyed him. dies like a piece of cargo. He is 36 years old. Asterisk. The notebook and the number. His body is taken to a storage room. His belongings are collected. A few coins. The freedom letter. Asterisk. His Bible. Asterisk. In his notebook, filled with 4 names written over and over. Asterisk. The authorities assume the names are siblings in Africa. Asterisk. They never investigate further. Asterisk. He is buried in the cemetery of the indigent, a grave for the forgotten, the nameless, the unwanted. No stone, no cross, no ceremony. Asterisk. Just a number in a ledger. 247. That is all the world records of Kofi of Guinea. Asterisk. But his blood is still alive. Asterisk. And 4 children on a plantation miles away. Children who will grow up never knowing the truth. Back at the plantation, the news arrives 3 weeks later. A traveler passing through mentions to Madame Elizabeth that a tall African docker died crushed at the port. Elizabeth freezes. She knows. Instantly she says nothing, shows nothing. Asterisk. Her face is calm, almost serene. Asterisk. But that night, behind a locked door, she sheds quiet tears. Asterisk. Not for Kofi. Asterisk. Not for the man whose life she shattered. She cries because the last witness to her crime is gone. The secret is safe. Asterisk. She sleeps better from that night onward. Asterisk. 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 The daughters learn the truth. Their reactions could not be more different. Asterisk. Marguerite cries for days. Asterisk. Not just for Kofi, but for the father her son Louis will never know. Celeste becomes colder, more distant. Asterisk. She repeats that it's for the best. But even she doesn't believe her own words. Hortense numbs herself. Asterisk. She refuses to think, refuses to feel. She focuses entirely on protecting her daughter Isabel, but Adela D collapses. She screams. She refuses to eat. She holds Gabriel to her chest and sobs until her voice breaks. Asterisk. Because she didn't just lose the man forced into her life. Asterisk. She lost the only man she ever loved. Asterisk. She whispers into the hair of her newborn. Asterisk. Your father was good. He was gentle. He deserved better. He deserved so much better. She will never forgive her mother. Not for the plan, not for the lie, not for the death. Never. Years pass. Asterisk. One by one, the daughters marry not out of love, but out of necessity. Asterisk. Their lives become fractured copies of the path their mother forced them into. Asterisk. The secret remains buried, but like anything rotten, it begins to leak through the cracks of time. For sisters, for lives shaped by the same night. Asterisk. And 4 children who will grow into adults without knowing the truth that defines them. But the truth has patience. It knows how to wait. It knows how to return. And when it rises decades later, it changes everything. The daughters' lives for paths marked by guilt. Marguerite. She marries an ex-military officer, ruined, bitter, violent. He beats her, he drinks, he rages, but he treats Louis, Kofi's son, as if he were his own. Asterisk. This is the only grace Marguerite is given. Asterisk. Crushed by guilt, she tries to redeem herself through charity. Asterisk. She donates money to freed families. She helps the poor. She works tirelessly to ease suffering. Asterisk. But she dies in 1920 knowing one thing with certainty. No amount of charity can erase what she did. Asterisk. Celeste, the coldest and most calculating of the sisters, retreats into emotional ice. Asterisk. She marries a mediocre colonial, an administrator who wastes her dowry slowly, year after year. She never speaks of the past. She refuses even to acknowledge it. Asterisk. She barricades her heart behind stone walls. Asterisk. She dies in 1925, distant and untouched by anyone, not because she is strong, but because she is hollow. Hortense. Asterisk. The youngest of the 4 tries to build her life on distractions. Asterisk. She marries a businessman drowning in debt. Asterisk. She fills her days with parties, receptions, and gossip. She pretends life is normal. Her entire identity becomes a mask. Asterisk. She dies in 1928, leaving behind a daughter, Isabel, who never learns the truth. Adela D. Her life is the tragedy that cuts deepest. She marries a quiet, gentle-mannered poor teacher who never questions her past and raises Gabriel as his own. Asterisk. He's the only decent husband among the 4, but Adela D. is never whole again. She lives with the memory of Kofi, his voice, his gentleness, his strength. Asterisk. His suffering, the love she was forbidden to have. When she looks at Gabriel, she sees Kofi's eyes, his smile, his posture, his soul, and every day it breaks her a little more. Adela D. writes the truth. Asterisk. In 1895, unable to bear the weight alone, she begins a journal. She writes everything. The plan, the hidden house, the pregnancies. Asterisk. The blackmail, Kofi's death, the love she never had the right to express. Asterisk. The guilt that eats her alive. Asterisk. The truth that no one else will ever tell. Every page is a confession. Every line a wound reopened. Asterisk. She hides the journal in a chest with a false bottom. Asterisk. She writes until the day she dies in 1923. Asterisk. The secret dies with her, or so she believes. The 4 children, lives built on lies. Louis, Marie, Isabel, and Gabriel grow up normal. Asterisk. Normal careers, normal marriages, children, of their own. Asterisk, none of them ever suspected truth. Asterisk, none of them know they are siblings by blood. Asterisk, none suspect their father was a man buried without a name under a number -247. Asterisk, their descendants multiply, dozens, then hundreds. Asterisk, a lineage built on silence. 1947. The discovery. Asterisk, almost 70 years after the events, the Beaumont LaCroix mansion is sold. The new owners explore the attic. They find old dresses, letters, dust, cobwebs, and a locked chest. Asterisk, inside, a few forgotten trinkets, a bundle of old papers, and Adela Diaz journal they begin reading out of curiosity. Asterisk, and end with shock so great they cannot breathe. The journal tells everything: names, dates, descriptions. Asterisk, the plan, the truth. They call a local historian. The historian confirms the impossible. Asterisk, the historian studies the journal and goes digging. Asterisk, in the archives of Fort de he finds Kofi's manumission letter. Asterisk, in the burial register, he finds the entry 247 African dock worker crushed by falling crate. Asterisk, in the birth records, he finds the 4 children dates matching exactly. Asterisk, in abandoned plantation files, he finds notes confirming Kofi managed the accounts. Asterisk, piece by piece, the story becomes undeniable. The journal is true. Every word. Asterisk, every detail, every horror. In 19, the historian publishes his findings. The island explodes in scandal. Asterisk, the descendants. Asterisk, some descendants are horrified. They refuse to believe. They deny the journal. Others are devastated. Their identities shattered. Asterisk, their family histories rewritten in blood. Asterisk, and others want to know more. They begin investigating Kofi's origins. Asterisk, contacting historians in Guinea, searching archives, interviewing elders. They discover he was born near Conakry. Asterisk, he had a wife named Aminata. He had 3 children. He was taken in a raid. Asterisk, he survived the Middle Passage. Asterisk, he was enslaved for 15 years. He was used in Elizabeth's plan. He was freed. Asterisk, he died alone, crushed on the docks. Asterisk, and today, thousands of his descendants live across Martinique, France, Canada, the United States. Asterisk, many still have the surname Beaumont, not knowing the origin of their bloodline. 2015. Justice. Finally. Asterisk, after decades of silence, descendants form an association. Asterisk, less on fans to Kofi. The children of Kofi, their mission, trace his lineage, honor his memory, rebuild his story. Asterisk, restore his dignity, ensure he is never forgotten. They petition for a monument. Asterisk, in 2015, a stone is placed in the cemetery of Fort Defre at the approximate site of his grave. Asterisk, the inscription reads, "Here lies Kofi of Guinea, born circa 1845. Asterisk, died February 12, 1881. Enslaved, freed, father. May his name never be forgotten." Asterisk, every year, on February 12, dozens of descendants gather there. Asterisk, they read passages from Adela Diaz journal. They speak Kofi's name aloud. Asterisk, they reclaim the story stolen from him. Adela Diaz final words. Asterisk, her journal ends with the most painful confession. Kofi of Guinea was a good man, a strong man. Asterisk, man who deserved a better life. I loved him. May God forgive my loved him. Asterisk, those words, hidden for decades, finally break the silence. Asterisk, they resurrect a man the world tried to erase. Asterisk, they expose the cruelty of a family legacy built on exploitation. Asterisk, they force the descendants to confront the truth that lives on. This is not a legend, not a myth, not a ghost story. Happened, documented, verified, recorded in archives. And today, even if Kofi's bones lie in an unmarked pit, his story breathes through the thousands who carry his blood. A man reduced to a number 247 has become an ancestor celebrated, researched, mourned, reclaimed. Asterisk, and as long as his story is told, Kofi never truly dies. This is the end of chapter 8, and yes, this completes the entire story. Asterisk, if you want, asterisk, a full combined English version, a YouTube documentary script, a short summary, a thriller-style version, a title plus the description plus hashtags, asterisk, or an entire cinematic narration,